feels that looking at the commuting into the county, it's obvious that the people that work here cannot afford to live here. And Summit County is dealing with the same issue. We have traffic issues with people coming into the county and going out of the county every day to go to work. So a lot of reasons to address this now and move forward with policy decisions. So what questions do you have?
Any other questions for Mr. Loomis?
When will the other portion of the study be completed?
That portion of it, the Nexus portion, we are doing a RFP right now. We've got drafts of it back and forth, so it will be, in the next couple of weeks, we'll put it out there. It'll probably take 3 to 4 months to get it completely completed, and it depends on how far we go with it too. There may be some surveys and things like that, which if we decide to do that, could take a little longer, but we're thinking probably about 3 months. And then the second part of the study is going to be looking at the needs assessments for Wasatch County, for Park City, for Summit County, and trying to get an overall picture of what's coming with development, what's in each needs assessment, so we can have sort of a regional approach. And the same, James Wood did one for Park City. He's done yours, and he was doing one for Summit County, and he did a draft of it, and Summit County said they wanted more in it than he had in it, not because it wasn't required by the state, but it's just additional information they want. So that's still got to be completed. So we're working on that RFP, but probably won't even put it out there until that study's completed, which I'm not even sure how long that will be, probably another 30 days at least. So that's coming.
If we're looking at another 3 months, we've already been in this about 4 months. We got a pending ordinance in place.
It's expired.
It's expired. Okay.
Pending, it's an update to the ordinance, right?
Well, it's 6 months.
Yeah, it's expired.
So anything now comes in would be under the old. We would go renew that pending ordinance, or go ahead and make some decision on the information we got.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Do we want to, the study, and especially the Nexus study that Scott talked about, will help us decide, is it going to be a flat 10% fee and lieu, or is it going to be varied? But we won't know that, I guess, till the other study's done. Do we want to raise the fee and lieu now some, and then maybe adjust it later, or do we want to leave it where it is? It's at $28,000 right now.
Here's what I would suggest. I think the only thing that is a concern for these studies to come is the 10% requirement and the employee generation, which I think is probably going to be pretty close. But the 10% is something that you need backup for, basically. But all the other decisions within the code changes that were recommended, and based on this study, we probably make some tweaks to those as well. But I think that's something you can do right now, start working on that. It's timely. I'm not sure procedurally whether you have to go back to the Planning Commission for that after they make recommendations, or if you can deal with it here.
We'll need to go back if it changes substantially.
Yeah, and it will be substantial in the sense that if you decide to do the 80 to 120, but it might be worth a discussion here because this is the policy maker first, and then go back to the Planning Commission with a final draft, kind of do it reverse. I'm not sure.
I've got a question. I'm not sure if it's for legal, planning, us, Mr. Loomis, probably all. So if someone comes in right now and they want to do we have a 1 acre zone. They want to do 8 homes or on 10 acres. Just totally an example or a hypothetical. They come in and they say, well, we have a study here that says we don't create a need. We have a needs assessment here that says there is a need, but it's not adopted yet. We don't have anything. Part of the whole thing that's bothered me is this is so discretionary that we're just kind of saying that what liability do we have? We know there are needs, but we don't have anything adopted. We don't have anything in place. What kind of liability are we opening ourselves up to if we require that fee or that? How does that work legally? I just want to make sure we don't get ourselves in trouble
We can address it, and Steve and I are both lawyers, and we
Oh,
did
good.
that with the
And I
slide.
knew this was all covered, I just don't understand it very
Yeah,
well.
and we've given John a lot of backup information, the new assistant county attorney. And basically, right now, that's the concern of Scott Sweet, is this nexus study. Sweat.
Mr. Sweat? Yeah.
Sweat, sorry.
We knew you meant.
Yeah, I mean, that's a concern. And
Well, it's a concern of mine, every time we
yeah,
see it.
and right now, I mean, we're not too troubled with it because it's 10%, but they do have the right to either pay an in lieu fee, so there's no taking. There's they can do an independent study.
So even if they challenge that, there's case law that backs up that your counties are able to charge that fee, even though someone can show somehow, some way that they don't create any.
There's over 500 jurisdictions that use inclusionary zoning in the country, and things can be structured in such a way where it's not a taking, as per the case law. But what we'll have will be a study that will say, here's the effect, and it's going to be a fairly extensive study, and it's going to cost some money. So if somebody wants to challenge that study, they have to go out and do an equal study for their development, which is possible, but probably impractical.
Well, I know we've had a lot of folks that say, hey, my project just doesn't work if this is the case.
Well, that's what
And
they
while
also-
that's not our, I understand it's not our responsibility to make their project work. If they come in and say it's because of this, and it's all discretionary, you've got nothing, that's what makes me nervous.
Yeah, and right now the way the code is, which we've tried to change, which hasn't been adopted yet, gives too much discretion to them, to you, and to everybody.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, so we're trying to come up with a hard number saying, this is how we can justify it, and we don't know what that number is yet, but this is how we can justify it. It's up to you to say, to challenge it.
Okay.
And again, this is a policy decision too. So you could look at that number and say, it could come back and say that the effect of a residential development is 16%, and you can say, well, we're going to do 50, or we're going to do 10, or whatever you decide, but I wouldn't do more than 16%. So that's coming, but as I said, I think all the other issues that we're dealing with can be dealt with now.
So inclusionary zoning versus just plain old zoning, what's the difference? I mean, obviously there's a difference.
Inclusionary zoning is when you want to include your workforce, moderate income people in your community. So basically you make provisions in your land management code to allow for housing so they can live there.
That's what we're hoping a lot of these developments in Burnell Basin will put the inclusionary zoning in, so the housing is there.
Yeah,
And that helps with transportation too.
Yeah, and basically, I mean, you're feeling it here, Summit County's feeling it, communities all over the country are feeling it now. They cannot hire workers to do the lower income jobs because they can't afford to live, or they've got to commute, an hour, some cases 2 hours away. And that just isn't sustainable. So if you want to be a sustainable community, you have to have provisions for your workforce, for your teachers, for your law enforcement, for your, Burger King workers.
That happens pretty much in most of the counties in Utah, except for maybe the top three, Summit, Wasatch, and what about Washington County? Are they doing this?
I haven't worked with them. I know several years ago they did not have inclusionary zoning, but I believe they've done something down there, and I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Very few, will the state require other counties to do it over time? I guess once they hit a certain point, they're going to have.
Well, they're all hitting that with these new needs assessments.
They required every city and county to do it for back in 1999.
Well, they require them to have a plan.
Yeah.
It didn't
Right.
necessarily say what they had to do. Anytime we do anything to increase the cost of development, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're definitely going to get some pushback or pressure back from that development community.
That's why we have to have this kind of.
Yeah, and
I want to make sure
We don't recognize it. We're passing the cost on to every taxpayer.
I said right, wrong, or indifferent.
Well, what you're doing, I think, too.
We've seen it happen over and over and over.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, in Summit County, where they have very high fees in Park City, they recognize that we need that workforce housing there, because they're not going to be able to sell a product if people aren't getting the service that they want. If you go to Deer
We
Valley.
see it, we know it, we see it every day. The development community has a totally different view.
Okay.
And if you go to the state legislature, you see a huge contingent
Right.
of development folk
Right.
who have got sick of the increased fees. Now, I'm not a developer, but I know that that's one of the reasons why we're getting so much.
Right. But
And it's one of the ways we can help control development.
Sure.
I get it.
Well, and that's not the intention, but that may be the effect.
That's the effect.
But the other side of it is, there's all kinds of studies that show when you have inclusionary zoning, when you have your workforce, when you have affordable housing in a community, that actually the real estate prices are higher in those communities than those that don't have it. And it makes sense because, again, the developers aren't going to be able to sell a high-end product if those people that come here for a second home or whatever it might be have a certain level of expectation of services. And if they can't deliver that, because they can't hire people at $15 an hour, they're going to get, people coming and going and quitting after 2 days, and they're going to go to their local restaurant, or they're going to go to a ski resort and not get the kind of service they want, and they're going to go elsewhere. So they may not like the fact that it's costing more, but it's certainly helping them as much as it's helping anybody in the community. And that, if the education system isn't the quality that you want because your teachers have to commute an hour and a half, or if you're you can't recruit fire or police, or
Well, we just talked with our police. There's definite need. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't agree that there's need.
yeah. So,
the other
but
side
this
of
is
the
how you
coin
deal with it. Yeah,
sometimes is tough.
yeah. And again, if they want to challenge it, they have the certain right to, and there probably will be some that will. So just expect it. But we're going to have the backup to say, this is what the law requires. This is what we've generated as a study, and it's supportable. And if you don't agree with it, then you do your own study, and you come in and we'll decide. And if you don't like it, you can litigate. And your development will be 4 or 5 years down the road when you get done litigating.
Then we spend taxpayer dollars on litigation.
Let me ask you a question. Now it sounds like we're at 2 months from having this done by the time we go to planning commission, come back.
Well, that's if we don't do the Nexus study.
Okay. Do we need to look at redoing our zoning, our ordinance, pending ordinance? We redo it for another 6 months, put it on the next agenda, to reestablish our pending ordinance, or what is our next step to be making sure that we're...
We either do that, or any development that comes in is going to be in the old code.
And we're right back to where we've been.
And some that are in there, they were in under the old code anyway.
And during the last 6-month period, there was what, one development? I think one development that came in during that period. So
We need to
All the
put that
stuff
on our
going
agenda
on.
for the 20th or 19th?
Do we need it on the agenda, or is the way it's worded here gives the flexibility to do it now?
To extend it.
May want to wait and see what the needs assessment showed before moving forward on the code amendment.
What you reading from, Steve?
The agenda item. I don't see action.
I would want to look. I think the code may limit it to 6 months, and we'd have to see.
I think the code limits it to 6 months, but it can be extended for one 6-month period.
Without new
Will
ordinance.
you look at that and on our, let's put this on our, if you guys are okay, let's put this on our,
Because I can see the floodgates being opened if there's an indication we're going to be raising it to 85,000
Yep.
per unit. They'll all
Well-
come in and want to be covered under the old code.
As an example, one that we've looked at, and it's, I guess, still on hold, whatever, under the 28,000, it's, their fee in lieu would be 36.4.
yeah, this way.
Under the 85,000, if we choose that, it's 110.
It's a big difference.
It's a big difference, and we tried to settle it with him even half.
Yeah, but irregardless, that's covered under the old code.
Yeah, he's in
He's under the old, but,
So he's on the 10% of.
but anybody that comes in, and what you're saying, this could be under the same issue unless we get it taken care of.
Correct.
So we did decide we can't do it tonight, with the way it's proposed?
I thought that's the impression I kind of got from Mr. Sweat, but the way it's worded on the agenda, I don't see consideration or action, possible action on there.
It seems like a stretch to me to say that's what
I'd rather be safe than sorry if you guys are okay with the putting it
No
on
problem,
our
put it
next
on the
agenda.
19th.
That last sentence would say that we could put it to the next meeting. We've got a review of the needs assessment, and based on the needs assessment, if we vote that way, we feel that we need to extend that 6 months.
So you're okay with putting it on our next one, or you think we're okay voting tonight?
No, that's what I'm saying. This to me seems to indicate that we can move forward.
Let's
but that
put it
We
on,
need to put it on a meeting where it's on the agenda that way.
let's put it on our agenda as
19th.
consideration to extend the pending ordinance, or however we need to word that. Scott, will you look at that and have Michelle word that correctly as we put it on for the 19th?
And I think as a practical matter, all the developers have been aware that it is going to
Yeah.
go up somewhere, so.
Okay.
So ready to file a file.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any
2
other-
weeks probably should.
Any other questions for Mr. Loomis? Does that conclude, or have we got?
Well, I guess the other question is direction from you. What do you want us to do, if anything?
Well, we need the rest of it, correct? Before we can act? Is that what
We can go ahead and maybe, you have recommendations on the fee and lieu, 85?
Well, that's what the study shows. But other policy matters like who you're going to target, maybe some credits for different incomes.
Different types of developments.
Yeah,
create different-
and we can make a list of questions and recommendations, basically saying, you know, what do you do with the acre developments? You know, you can say you can cut 1 acre up and put 4 in there, or you can say they've got to do it someplace else, or pay a fee, or there's. I suspect. I mean, one of the objectives of having a higher fee is to get some affordable housing built, and the easiest way to do that is to do it on site. So. These are the kind of considerations you need to do, and then, as I mentioned, you want to do it all in the unincorporated area of the county, or Wasatch County developments, or can it be in Heber, or other areas.
Because of the, and stuff that I already referred to, it costs more to build in the county. And probably because of that, the majority that we have, even though it might have been funded from county development, it's been built in Heber City.
Yeah, and honestly, there hasn't been that much built within lieu fees and
How
or
much is in the fund
inclusion.
right now?
What do we got?
34 million.
3, 4. And
Where we're
doing
using
some
it for.
things.
Tell them, Scott, what we're doing right now. I mean, tell them what Park City's fee is compared to what you're saying.
Well, we heard that it's 200-something thousand for you now.
Yeah.
Where else does the money come from? The fee and lieu, or they can go on site.
Yeah.
That's one way you get money to go in.
So what are we doing with that? Have we got a project going now with the?
Yeah, we're
With
building
the
the
second senior center.
second senior center over next to the public there, Elmridge too, not
Prestige.
Prestige too.
And
It'll be a little bigger than the one.
yeah, and you know, the objective is to get them to weigh alternatives. Commercial developments, it's hard to build on site, but not impossible. For residential developments, it's fairly easy to build on site and encouraged, because if they pay a fee, then you got to find land and do a development. So, I mean, there's a lot of policy decisions. You can put it in the code, you know, with priorities, or you can just be subjective every time, or you can allow them to pay a fee. In Summit County, I encourage people that have issues with doing it on site, primarily commercial, to go ahead and pay a fee, because you can always use the money for development. But if they have land, for example, up at Mayflower, I mean, that's probably mandated that they have to do something up there because they're going to have a need for workforce.
And we don't, I think if I'm, correct me, Doug, we don't have to accept the fee. We can say, part of your development, you build it on site. And if it requires 6 houses, you figure out where you're gonna put 6 workforce housing in your development.
We can't do that. I'm gonna say, let's take an example on the east side of the county where we have 1 acre lots. Zoning, that just doesn't work.
Yeah, it
We
hasn't.
do it there. That's why everything's done within the city.
Could you allow them to build a half-acre lot that would be affordable?
See, that's what I was gonna say, just like it's against the code,
Well, that's what I
unless
say.
we made an exception, there's lots of
These
other
are policy
things to it.
decisions. You can build a mansion home on there, you know, it's 4 units and 6,000 square foot home, they call it, with different entrances and things, or you can do, 4 lots on an acre coming into the subdivision or in the back of the subdivision or someplace that.
So you make an exception to
Yeah,
that?
I mean, if that's your choice, or you can say we want to keep it 1 acres per home, and we don't want the affordable there, we have to do it someplace else. So, there's a lot of.
They can go buy a lot and put it somewhere else rather than in their subdivision. Though all those things have happened.
Yeah, so there's, again, a lot of policy decisions with the changes to the code that we recommended before, but based on this and some other things, if you want, we could, and they could be dealt with now before the Nexus study's done. We can come back with a list of recommendations and discussion items.
Perfect, you can give us the recommendations that you have here, give us a bunch of options, but then come back with some other ones. That's very helpful and get us going in the right direction that way, so we got the decision.
Yeah, and I think it could be done, in a couple of meetings.
Come back with some recommendations. Some information.
Can you do that? Great.
You want that on to the 19th as
Yeah.
well as the extension of the...
Yep. Yes, sir.
2 weeks.
I think you've given direction that you want to continue on with the process.
Yes.
To do a formal resolution, I would prepare that for the 19th, but I think you've given Doug that direction that that's where you're going.
Does it need to come to the work meeting?
I'll bring it to the work meeting.
Based on what we passed, it can't be voted on until it's been to a work meeting, correct?
That is correct.
I think by having the options on there for the developer is helpful. Paying the fee, doing it on site, doing it off site. If we're really very restrictive on saying you gotta do it this way, it makes it really complicated. But if we give them the options, just as long as it's done, that's what we're trying to do, is to go and try to satisfy that need.
You're exactly right, and one thing I have to say is, each and every affordable unit, people think, just build affordable housing, it's easy. It's a challenge. Everything is unique and different, and no development is the same. And the more flexibility you have, the better it is, because it gives the developer options and gives the county options to say, yes, this is acceptable or not acceptable. If you just say, this is what you have to do, it's just extremely difficult. And the challenge is to come up with something that works for the developer, that works for the community.
And it's different depending on the location of where it's built.
Well, I like to have it encouraged, though, that we spread them out throughout the whole county. I mean, it's nice to have a police officer on your street and other such things. I don't know how you do that without hurting property values, but I think it's nice to spread them out.
It doesn't have
And not have them just totally in Heber stuff, in the city limits. I live on a street with four school teachers, it's great.
Well, an example of some things, some years ago, what's the development outside of here? The big
Wheeler Park.
Wheeler Park. Somewhere in that process, I don't remember which part, which phase, we got 9 lots. And the affordable housing worked, the developer of Wheeler Park, or the phase didn't build the homes. We worked at it, we got into a program from the state called Crown Homes, and they built 6. Those are leased to own units, but they're affordable, they're deed restricted. And then we built 3 Reach homes that Mike and I got into the middle of, because they were dealt with prison labor. Anyway, it's a different story, but.
It's a good one, though.
It's a good one.
You guys are part of the prison labor?
Well, the neighbors didn't, anyway. But,
Sounds like for discussion for later.
but another example, and you talk about, these guys not wanting it in their neighborhood or whatever, we had, through another development out east of here, we had 3 lots, and we were going through a developer to build some homes, and the neighbors, NIMBY deal, not in my backyard, you're not having an affordable unit. We matched up what the developer was gonna put in with what that development was putting in, and we probably equaled in value and quality at least half the points, but still they wouldn't allow it. And so we just ended up selling the lots to the developer of the subdivision, because the neighbors didn't want to have an affordable unit next to theirs that might be better than theirs, is what we looked at. So we've done some things, and with just money in that, we continue to work on it.
Okay, so we'll revisit this on the 19th. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Pardon?